known for her charming etiquettes and warm mannerism. I would like to invite Ms. Sushmita Sen to be here with us. See, I'm so excited to have Sushmita here. Hi Sushmita, please have a seat. I'm sure everybody present here is also as excited as I am. And everybody wants to have a word with you, Sushmita. So, on behalf of everybody, I would like to ask a few questions. You started very early, at a very young age, when you were 17. And at that point of time, there were no institutes like that. And you have gone through extensive training in terms of etiquette, mannerism. Please share a few words with us, your experiences with us.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to Wasan Knowledge Hub for this wonderful initiative. Their initiative with the English Manner Styling and Finishing School Academy. I think what is commendable is that I was 18 years old when I first traveled to the United States and after winning Miss Universe. And other than being 18 and speaking only Hindi at that point and very little English, language was already a barrier. Pretty much my first public appearance was a disaster. I was in Mexico City as a state guest and the president's guest actually, sitting at the head of the table and not knowing that I need to start eating first to start the dinner, and I was very hungry. So I kept looking at my travel manager like, when are they going to start? And of course, these things you see in a film, but when it happens to you in real life, you realize that manners and etiquettes and going to a finishing school is less about being presentable to the world. It is more about your own level of confidence. It is more about how you want the world to perceive you. Because ultimately, I think nobody's born with it. No matter where you're born, you're not born with it. I know a lot of people believe that grace and being elegant is an attitude. That might be true, but it still needs knowledge and practice. It needs people to aspire to want to be like that. But for me personally, I went back to the Miss Universe organization and said, help! I really felt like a lot of people on the dinner tables looked at me, and all state guests as well, like, poor thing, she's only 18. But I didn't want to be that poor thing. That's the aspirational quality of a person. You want to say, I have a platform, and I want to rise above what is normal. Most importantly, I think finishing schools are about giving you a platform where you make friends, where your communication is so clear that you end up never having to say, or at least not having to say it often, oh, I didn't mean that. You start saying things, doing things that you mean. It has worked for me. And yes, back in the day, I still remember I was speaking to the management today and they were telling me that this is actually Wasan Knowledge Hub, the first academy officially in India, which is so commendable because we're talking 20 years back when there was none, and 20 years later, I'm so thrilled that everyone will have that opportunity in India. So yes, it's been a journey for me and I've loved every bit of it.
So how do you think an academy like this will play an important role in today's time?
Oh, very much so. You see, today's time is different. 20 years back, when we were looking at a finishing, I went to one in San Francisco, and thank you, Miss Universe, for it. But back in the day, you didn't have all these channels and YouTubes and Google and all of that feeding you information that told you that not only do you need to know etiquette and manners of a particular nature or kind, you need to know that every part of the world has its own. So the world is expanding at that pace. Now knowledge is a very, very big gift. Once you have it, it inspires you to say, I don't need to know all this, but I just need to know enough to be able to walk into a room and connect with people beyond the nature of my job, or being from the corporate world, or beyond being just someone who's extremely wicked and witty, but on an emotional level, touching lives on a level that will resonate long after the day is done. It's good for business. I see a lot of men here in suits, so I'm going to say that. But it's also great for human relationships. Those I find in the last 20 years have been the greatest gift of going to a finishing school. So to answer your question, did I answer it? Or did I just drift again?
Very much.
Okay, good. So that would be it.
Yeah, there was a different time altogether 20 years back, and now we have an academy like this to groom today's youth, youngsters, girls,
You're
females,
right,
ladies.
I didn't answer your question. So to answer it, in today's time it is most relevant because, as I was saying earlier, there is a deeper need and requirement for it because people are aspiring more. In India today, they have the aspiration, they need it with it, an infrastructure that provides it, which has been absent for a very long time. So now that the infrastructure comes into play, I know I want it and I know where to find it. So that is a wonderful connect, and yeah, you work magically for people.
Sushmita, where do you think there are gaps in professional training when we talk about etiquettes and mannerism in Indian scenario? Where do you find that there are loopholes and gaps, and where we could make a change and difference to change the future of today's youth?
I think it overall in any part of the world, not just in India, it always starts from your social structure. What are you like as a society? Once that society starts becoming more and more aware, and again the word aspiring, then you provide them with the one thing that they are aspiring for. Today, when I started at 18, everybody thought, wow, just 18, that's really young. And now I find that at 18, they already know exactly what they want. They're studying for it, they are applying for jobs globally, they're applying for scholarships globally. So they're very sorted. This younger generation is just very sorted. Yes, I just feel that the gap was initially there. Now, with the entire team sitting here that is providing a wonderful bridge for people to be able to find what they were aspiring for, that gap narrows. And of course, India is 1 billion people, so you are looking at a very massive group of inspired people. So I just don't think it's about women or men. I think society at large needed it and will find it now, so that's wonderful.
And how do you feel the need of ladies, Indian women, to have the need of being trained in terms of etiquettes and mannerism and styling, yes, of course?
I think one of the most beautiful things about India is that we have a very big middle class. We have a huge section of society where we also take great pride in women being housewives, one of the hardest jobs in the world to do. Etiquette and grooming, finishing schools, give you a range of social, personal, professional mannerisms, etiquettes, just the sheer confidence of being able to pull off, let's say, being a great host. It's not a small thing. It connects on many levels with people. Being someone who can, for example, know simple things like, in Namibia, I actually introduced the president to the entire crowd. Very bad. You're supposed to introduce everyone to the president. Simple things like that. But we always believe, well, I wouldn't need to learn that. No, you should. Because it's when you have the knowledge and you learn it that life presents you with opportunities where you'll get to use them. So, yeah, overall I think it will affect Indian women pretty much the way it affects globally everyone. From home to office to the corporate world, women in the corporate world in India, it's a big growing bunch. A big lot of them are present here this evening. And it's very commendable, from how you dress to how you speak, how you conduct yourself, what to say, when to say it. And as I've been often told by my own father, people will forget where you came from, what your name was, what nature of job you did. But they will always remember the way you made them feel. That can be taught in a finishing school.
The very last question of mine, as you shared with us that you have traveled extensively, and initially it was different being in different countries. So how different it is to be in India, then traveling abroad, and how it is different, like share some experiences of yours.
India is my home. I will always be proud of that. We may not have had the most pulling of chairs and holding the door open, and that's fine, but we're all soul. And I think as long as you have that, manners can be taught.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to invite all the delegates, all the media people for the question and answer and also the photo opportunities. And later on we'll be having a ribbon cutting ceremony. Thank you so much, Sushmita. We are really, really delighted to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause. Thank you, all the dignitaries. Thank you, everybody.